Good evening, lamb chops. It is I, your favorite fluffy vampire, Booma. What is that music? Where am I hearing music from? Oh, holy shit, Spotify. Hi. Spotify started playing for fun. Blooma here. Blooma, like, forgot what button to hit for a second, so sorry. So 2.5 hours, and I'm feeling lettuces, like, fresh. Moo, 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 moo. I like it when I'm fresh like a lettuce, too. I feel you. I feel you. Getting out of the shower, being all, like when you go to the grocery store and all the veggies are getting a little shower. Anyway, Higurashi. I got so distracted. I almost, like, lost track of time. Because, like, I got a while before stream starts, and I logged into Genshin. Rookie mistake. Rookie mistake. And then as I was like, oh my god, I'm getting close to stream time, I better get off Genshin. I, like, went to get off, and I saw a little notification. It's like, have you watched the Hoyo Fair yet? And I'm like, oh, no, I haven't. And I started watching that, and I'm like, uh-oh. Uh-oh. And then it was 6:59, and I was like, oh, shit. Yo, antimatter, Yusu and Muffin. Yee, Higurashi. Instructions unclear. Took shower at grocery store. Bruh. Yeah, close enough. Close enough. Alright. Man has a metal bat and a plan. That's all we got. It's been 8 years since Blooma's stream. I know, right? Dude, it really feels like it. Man. Oops, sorry. I got some stuff going on here with my phone. Can you not? I'm trying to stream. Okay, there we go. You watched the whole Hoyo Fair and it was amazing. Yeah, I know. I gotta keep watching it. I didn't realize, like, how, like, cool it was. Like, I know Hoyo Fair was a thing, but I guess maybe it's not every year, because this year it specifically says art and music. But, like, they're all music videos so far. I've only seen, like, a few. They look really good. I'm excited to see more. What's Hoyo Fair? It's, like, a bunch of artists that do, like, fan art for Hoyo get to show off their stuff, basically. They look really cool. But, yeah, like, I haven't finished it yet. So, you know, I don't know what else is in there. I'm only on, like, the second music video where, like, they turned some of the girls into the girl band and they were, like, dancing on a roof. That was kind of neat. Anyway, Higurashi, right. Sunday. Anyway. The fireworks I heard before noon were probably to announce the opening of the festival. And the weather certainly wasn't festival weather. It was cloudy. See the music you posted on Discord? Let's see. Yeah, I did. Yeah, I watched that. It was good. I did like that song. Someday. Listen. And the weather certainly wasn't festival weather. It was cloudy. The television forecast was calling for possible downpours starting this evening and lasting around until midnight. But as long as it wasn't raining at that moment, the festival would go on. The festival had to open, or it wouldn't begin. The Furuta Shrine grounds were probably decorated beautifully for the big performance that only happened once a year. Many paper lanterns were hung up, all in the auspicious colors of red and white. The sound of electronic motors at the stalls, the voices of kids running around, their happy families watching them, smiling. Today was the festival of Watanagashi. Was everyone already partaking in the festivities? What about Satoko? Had she forgotten her days of suffering just for a few moments, while smiling that brilliant smile she hadn't in so long? This would probably be the longest day of my life. It would be a day I would remember vividly for as long as I lived. I told my parents I'd go to the festival this evening and lounged about during the early afternoon. We may have lived under the same roof, but they couldn't help being surprised by the deviation from the usual time that I had spent. Glancing at my parents out the corner of my eye, I went out to the front door. I tied my shoes just a little tighter than normal, as if to express the firmness of my resolve in those knots. When I decided to murder Satoko's uncle, I was in such a state of excitement I almost went crazy. And when I was planning out the act of murder, which went directly against all the morals fostered in me thus far, I was in a clear state of calm. I almost thought I had lost my emotions. Enough Genshin. It's Higurashi Tatarigoroshi, yes. And then, yesterday, when I learned Satoshi had made exactly the same phone call as me, I didn't know how to describe the muddled feelings I had then. And now, entering today, right now, I lacked all emotions I possessed until now. To make a simple analogy, it was the kind of feeling you might get right after you wake up, when you're still half asleep and you don't really feel anything that clearly. I had no anger towards that man for the violence he'd committed against... I had no anger towards that man for the violence he'd committed against Satoko, nor did I feel sadness towards or sympathize with her. I felt no discontent towards my friends, who had just waited and watched, never reaching out to her without any help, and no nervousness for the fear towards the day that had finally come. Yes, right now, you could say I was at the best possible condition for carrying out a murder, Jesus Christ. When I came down to it, I would probably need to let my violent emotions take control. But right up until that moment, I would be like an insect. I would slowly, surely, and silently move towards my one objective. And then, when I had my prey, I'd attack like a bullet. Keiichi's reaching peak edge. Fucking for real, are you serious? Keiichi, my bro, calm down. Yeah! The famous words. Edgy Keiichi, let's go. There was no emotion in that. Just the creeping mindset insects possessed. That sort of sneaking feeling was just the best. I would kill Satoko's uncle like he was a worm. I had to laugh a little at thinking that way. Thinking like an insect. Tug. I tightened my laces one more time and walked out the door. I brought the shovel out of the front storeroom. I would need it to dig the man's grave. The shovel was a convenient one, made for camping. If I twisted it like so, and split it into 3, I could easily hide it in my bag. I twisted the shovel and dismantled it. And even thought I'd done it countless times before, I had trouble for some reason. Like I was suddenly clumsy now. I knew why. It wasn't because I was nervous. My weak-willed self, deep within me, was hesitant. I knew that the act of dismantling the shovel was the first step I'd take in becoming a murderer. Oh. The last twist was conspicuously difficult, but it finally submitted before the strength of my determination. Fair. Also imagine being an adult and pissing off a 10-year-old that much. Yeah. Keiichi becoming the Joker? Yeah. The area around Satoko's house was outside my circle of activity, but even just riding my bike in the middle of the day like this might seem suspicious to an observant person. I definitely want to avoid meeting and talking to someone I know. With that in mind, I chose the route to my destination carefully. I didn't mind going the long way around. With how long this day would be, I could never be too careful after all. Still, I was fortunate enough not to run across anybody on my way on the planned side of the crime. She's really gonna be rip and tear until it's done. Okay, she's just releasing on the same day as Doom. Animal Crossing, yeah. Goddamn. Next thing we know, he starts to dance on the stairs. Yeah. I wasn't superstitious at this point, but it was a good omen. The place I would dig the hole was in this grove, a little further into the woods. I was worried it might not make it to the same place as before, since there were no signs to guide me, but I arrived there smoothly, as expected. I took another look around. Not even a hint of a human presence. The air was a little bit damp, but it was comfortable in the cool shade of the trees. I took the disassembled shovel out of my bag and began skillfully putting it together. Then, I stuck the tip of the shovel into the soft-looking patch of ground and pushed on it with my foot. The shovel would split the earth if I put in some strength into it with my foot. The act of doing so seemed awfully like the point of no return, and it made me hesitate. I was just digging a hole with a shovel, but it made me gulp hard. Calm down, Keiichi, my Mara. Since you slept so little yesterday, you're gonna fall asleep at any point. Alright. Sleep away. But if we start murdering people without you being awake, that's on you. The irony, yeah. Right? Let's do a countdown. Get it done on the count of 3, okay? Alright. 1, 2... I couldn't do it on the countdown. Despite it just being sticking the shovel in the ground, and I had to count down 5 or 6 times. He said that they... Yeah, he sure did. Damn it. I'm just digging a hole. This is pathetic. As I thought that, I put my strength into my heel like I was stepping on something unpleasant, and split came a sharp noise. It was the only soft at the beginning. Roots and stones quickly got in the way, informing me just how hard it would be to dig a hole big enough for a person. No decent person would ever come here anyway. Maybe it would be enough to cover him up with some dirt. Every time a naive thought like that crept into my mind, I bit down in my teeth and dug even harder. I've dug enough now. I could hide him like this. Every time I thought that, I would go down to the hole and grow disappointed at how shallow it was, and then return to digging. The thin layer of sweat on my brow eventually formed into drops and fell to the ground. My back was even in a worse shape. My damp shirt adhered to my skin, and it felt disgusting. The things I couldn't stand the most were the mosquitoes. Maybe they were attracted by the scent of my sweat. The white and black striped mosquitoes would cling to me whenever I let down my guard. It was hot. It was disgusting. And I was sticky. It was itchy. All those uncomfortable feelings surged through me in waves. Damn it all. So what? Are you telling me to pack it up and go home? Is that it? I hadn't yelled at anyone. It was me talking to myself and telling myself something. Why was I feeling this way and digging a hole all the way out here? What benefit would digging this hole give me? What harm would there be in not digging this hole at all? Wait, in the first place, who ordered me to dig? When I thought it over, maybe ever since grade school or even before that, my whole life had only been me doing what other people had told me to do. I didn't mean it was somehow constrained, living a life just based on the commands of others. And I didn't mean I was too lazy to try and find my own road in life. Metaphorically speaking, yeah, it was like a road. I'm starting to think Keiichi might not be mentally well right now. Oh my... Yeah? I'd never been particularly physically fit. I didn't hit puberty very early, and if all my classmates and I got in line, I'd usually be on the shorter end. My scores in jump rope competitions and marathons were the very picture of average. And it wasn't like captains of the dodgeball teams would have a passionate rock, paper, scissors contest to see who would get me. You were thinking that as well? Nah, he's totally fine. Oh wait, sorry, I meant physically, yeah. Yeah. He's sweating, probably needs an orange or some water, yeah. Take him a lemonade while he's digging up the hole, like, here you go. During those kindergarten and grade school years, it felt like someone was only worth how fast they grew and how fit they were. Looking back on it now, it was really uncomfortable for me. That thing that turned all around was just a few words from my mother. Keiichi, would you like to go to a cram school? You'll better grasp what you're learning in school, and it'll be more fun. The very first test I took at cram school was kind of like a game, and it was a lot of fun. It wasn't like the test had the same exact problem a dozen times in a row. Every question had a picture on it, almost like one of those puzzle books that came with manga magazines. If my studies at school had been like this, it would have been way more fun. Several days later, I went to the cram school again with my mother and the enrollment paperwork. Mom and the person at the crayon school had a really long, heated discussion, so I accidentally dozed off and missed out on most of what they said, but I clearly remember this one point. Mom had made a loud groan, surprised at something. By 61, do you mean his average score was 61 points? No, not at all, Mrs. Maibara. The mean deviation of our cram schools all across the country is 61. He's showing rare numbers, even if this is just a simplified intelligence examination. First, I would like to say that Keiichi Maibara-kun is an extremely bright. Keiichi? But he doesn't have very good grades at school. He has his average marks on his report cards, B's, C's, D's. Is there some kind of mistake? We gave him the curriculum test as well, and we learned some very interesting things as a result. Maibara-kun is extremely weak when faced with questions that don't have any meaning. He just has no interest in simple, dull questions that don't have anything to do with everyday life. So even if he doesn't know what 2 plus 3 is, if you told him that you had 2 apples and you got 3 more, he would understand that sort of question? That's right. For example, instead of telling him to draw a flattened, foldable cube, what if we asked him what a die would look like when it was cut open? If we did that, he can answer beautifully. Then the person from the cram school showed her a page from one of the exams I took. It was a paper with questions about construction. Construction questions were unusual, so they were really cool, weren't they? In this question, it asked to draw an unfolded, regular isochondron, a shape with 20 faces. When we rephrased it and asked him how he would cut out a piece of cardboard and create a 20-sided die, Keiichi-kun drew the answer as though it were easy. This is not something an average child can do. Keiichi, have you ever made a die with 20 sides on it from a magazine extra or something? Dice only went from 1 to 6. I'd never even considered before the test that there were dice with more than 6 sides. So it was fun to imagine what kind of shape a die was when it would have 20 sides would be. If I had a die like that, I would win any dice games against anyone, so I immediately wanted to make it. Finally, I entered cram school. There were only 4 students in that class, and they put me in it, which was called Select. It was the highest class, and some of my classmates were in lower ones. And when I remembered how much better they had done at the things like dodgeball, the 50-meter sprint, I felt happiness well up within me for the first time. Even if I wasn't good at them as physically, I triumphed over them in other ways. It was fun at first. The more I did and the more I got praised, my teachers at school suddenly started pampering me. It felt good. My parents were satisfied too, and I enjoyed seeing them satisfied. The more I listened to my parents' commands, the more fun things got. It did happen, didn't it? I grinned dryly in this self-deprecation. Because, well, my studious lifestyle didn't end up lasting very long. It was only at the beginning I enjoyed learning more and more. I gradually got less with my friends. My classes were behind, and I was learning in cram school, and eventually I stopped respecting the teachers, given that they could put me to sleep with their lectures. And while I was disagreeable sort who bragged a lot about how much I knew, and the ways of the world wouldn't let me remain in this state of ecstasy forever. I was do as I was told, and then when I'd go above and beyond their expectations, and they praised me, I was happy for that, and the cycle repeated itself like the wheels of a bike. I thought moving forward like that was how life worked, like a bicycle. When I moved to Hinamizawa, I realized just how inadequate that was. What you got back there? Keiichi's smart. Oh no, he's a psychopath. Got it. You're right. Some things happened, and we started saying how moving and getting a change in the atmosphere would be nice. Hi, Jose. Welcome in. And then my father, he had a place that he liked, that he'd gone to a few times to draw in the nature. He started saying that he wanted to bring his Atler there. With me in a blank amazement, they decided to move to Hinamizawa. And after that, I met them, didn't I? The first day after transferring here, I went to the classroom with the teacher. I thought it would seem pitiful for her to bring me there, so I placed my hand on the door before she could, slammed it open, and set foot in the room. The thrilling, powerful way I opened the door was none other than my own determination to try doing my life over again. And then, within seconds, I wonder if that's a typo. The within. That determination took a hard counter to the face. A blackboard eraser fell on me. Plus, there was a huge rock inside it. It was an extremely painful trap someone had set up. Well, come on, Satoko was already beating me right from the first day I transferred? That frightened me. I was bewildered. The class was surprised, too. I wasn't just surprised that the students in the class were all in different grades and were in different genders. It was because the room felt completely different from the schools I knew. And as I spent more time with them, my surprise continued to grow. This fresh sense of surprise had never left my life, even to this day. Every day was a fresh new surprise. I've never had a single boring day since coming here. The days were lively, spent with the other club members. We played Old Maid with cards with scratches on the back to cheat. We let all of our passions go wild during the games. We went all out as regular participants in tournaments at the toy store in town, and many, many more things. Recently, during those times, there was the bento competition. It was then that's when I saw an unexpected side of Satoko. Thinking back on it, I only ate dinner with her 2 nights. It was such a sweet, gentle time spent, and it warmed my heart remembering it even now. I realized that Satoko was pretending to be a stubborn infern, and how brave she was, part of her heart always waiting for her Nini to come home. And I vowed to become her Nini. Satoko may have been nagging and overly critical, but she knew how to take care of someone. But though it might have seemed like she was taking the lead, it was actually her way of depending upon another person. Even as Satoshi and Satoko's lives as siblings were confined by their uncle and his wife, they were still warm and sunny days. With that shaking my head, literally unplayable, right? Where's my damn tissues? When did those sunny days all go wrong? What mistake was made? Lamenting tragedies of the past would do no good, and I told myself that many times, but I did it anyway. Keiichi, isn't that why you chose your own path? To take back that life? Nobody ordered you to do this. You decided it on your own. You don't desire anyone's praise for this. You thought it through all yourself. You'll carve it out yourself. And you'll do it now. This wasn't a path I could see very far down, not like the road my parents or society could offer. It was a narrow path, dark and utterly distressing, one for which the next step would always be shrouded in darkness. But that's this heartening path would keep on going forever. It was an unlimited path, and there was nowhere I couldn't travel. The kind of path only available to those to imagine where they wanted to go. Don't be ashamed at breaking from the brightly lit, paved road. In fact, feel proud that you found your very own path to walk. And I hadn't discarded the paved road either. Once I achieved my goal, I would go back to that bright road, and then I'd spend those average sunny days at my leisure. Right, we're digging a hole for a body. When I next realized that the hole had grown so deep I couldn't believe it. Did I dig this hole myself? I think digging this much is enough, right? I put my shovel in the bottom of the hole. I would drag the body here, throw it in the hole, and then cover it with the dirt. Even if it took me time to camouflage it by putting plants on top, it would all go much more easily than digging the hole had. I glanced at my watch. It was almost evening, and I hadn't even realized. I may not have felt the time passing, but digging a hole this deep must have taken quite a bit of time. I took a seat on the slanted rock nearby, wiped the sweat from my brow. Now, once it got a little darker, I'd go get the metal bat I hid at the schoolyard. Then I'd make the call to lure him out. Snap back to reality. Oh, there goes gravity. Oh, there goes gravity. Arms weak, knees, mom spaghetti. And then I'd do it. The number of things I needed to do to reach that moment were dwindling. I felt the moment closing in on me much more keenly than I did the passage of time. I didn't have any hesitation, but I still felt that a contradiction. At the very step of this process, I had a few chances to hesitate, to turn back, so I let myself loose the nerve. Dang, boom, I got barred. Yeah, right. I'm so scared. Yeah, watch out, rap god. There's a sheep coming to take your crown. It was indescribably slow and painful torture. I had thought myself acting all weak because of that, but I stopped midway through. This was okay. It was fine. Yeah, it was fine. Anytime anyone say it's fine, they are about to kill somebody. The fuck was that noise? Oh, someone subscribed! Oh my god, hi! Thanks for subscribing! Literally. Oh, right? Like, we never hear that noise on stream. That's why I was like, God? Ringing my doorbell. Oi. Oh! Okay. Whew, anyway. I could detest the abhorrent act of homicide as much as I wanted to, but it didn't matter. God, is that you? Right? A new member has joined the cult. One of us. Yeah! I wasn't gonna be a cutthroat killer after today. I would pass through this strange day and go back to the world I was in before. If I fell into the level of a psychopath who thought nothing of killing, I wouldn't be able to go back to my old life. So this was fine with me. I didn't have to feel ashamed or hesitant to kill, because I was human. Bitch. It was so funny to me that I'd be the bearer of this Oyashiro-sama's curse at the same time I was aware I was human. I exhaled lightly and stood. I concealed my presence and sharpened my senses in all directions to search for anyone around me, but... Okay, let's go. One step at a time. I would walk my own path. A path no one had forced me to walk. Let's do this. Keiichi Maibara. The cicadas made an annoying fuss. Their chorus covered up the suspicious noise and me breaking twigs underfoot. And their chorus filled the path ahead of me, letting me know I'd be alone for some time. The cicadas blessed the path that I walked, encouraging me with every last ounce of strength they had. The sky was far above. In not even an hour, the veil of night would draw near and the sky would be tinted with dusk. By that time, the Higurashi would let out to hear their chorus in the place of the cicadas. When that happened, would everything be over with? Would everything have ended? I said something along those lines when I felt Satoko's fate up to the public agency, but this time was different. I would do it. I would carry it out. I would end it. It would all be over very soon. Everything would end. Yes, when the Higurashi cry. He said it! Title drop! Oh my god, he said it! He said it! That was really cool. I like that. That was so cool. Relax, pain. God damn. More pain for the pain god. It would end. Damn. He got them Virgil vibes. Hello, Mini-Me96. Hello. Welcome in. Oh my god. That was so cool, though. I love it. I love it when they title drop in the series, because you know someone's gonna really just die. Okay. There was nobody at school. I couldn't hear the playful voices of children. This was the first time I'd seen the school with such a lack of a human presence. Still, I quieted my breath, and I looked around, not wanting to be unprepared. It had gotten darker outside, but it was almost like my eyes could see more clearly now. I made absolutely sure for my safety, then walked to the heavy construction machinery I had hidden the metal bat behind. This music's so good. It really is. Oh my god. Famous last words, you're gonna die. No. My last words are probably gonna be, dude, check this shit out. I had a tinge of worry, a premonition, that someone had found the bat and hidden it somewhere else as a prank. If that had happened, would I take this as an opportunity to desist? If it really wasn't there, then the sensation of a chilled bat. It was still here, where I left it. It hadn't run away. Satoshi hadn't run away. He'd waited here patiently for me. Sorry for the wait, Satoshi. It's been a long time coming. You prepared for this? Through the metallic touch, Satoshi grins at me in my mind. That's what I should be asking you, no? Tatarigoroshi, I love Satoko's, right? It's my favorite too. Welcome in, Bailey. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, no, I've been telling these guys, this is my favorite arc too. It's so good. My last words are kind of like, this should be safe, right? Yeah. Ryusu's last word gonna be, oh, Ryusu, that's a hell of a way to go, bro. Dude, check this out. Bloom before the fuck shit up. Yeah. You should be more worried about yourself. Right on, Satoshi. Let's show him that bad time. Satoshi's back got lighter and lighter, and fit into my hands like it was being absorbed. It didn't feel wrong to swing this. I could move it around more naturally. It was like an extension of my own right arm. Of course it felt like that. Satoshi and I were holding one bat together. Next, I would make the call to lure that man out. It wasn't a bad time for it. Dude, check this out. Eats a whole garlic, yeah? God damn. My friends were doubtlessly parading happily through the stalls. I hadn't considered where to make the call from. My house and Satoko's were pretty far apart. If I called from my house, I wouldn't make it. Couldn't I just use the school phone? But, as I thought, the room was locked up and I couldn't get in. Shit. I'm so naive. You should have at least figured this part out. I couldn't call him. And just for that, was today all over? I'm sorry, Satoshi. And just as I cursed my own naivete, a miracle occurred. A bicycle came into the schoolyard. It was a familiar, middle-aged man. The one from the Forest Service field office. Why, wasn't today Sunday? Was he here to pick up something he forgot? Anyway, the forest officer went around the back and felt around in his pocket, and then unlocked the door and entered. The best possible coincidence. And it had to be Satoshi who saved me. The metal bat, through just my contact with it, told me that this was the chance I couldn't allow to slip by. The sections of the forest office and the school were neatly separated. I felt the man head into the forest office storehouse, which was so far in the back the students weren't allowed into it. The door didn't match its fittings well, so it wouldn't close all the way, and the gap in the door opened slowly, as if to lure me in. No public phone? I think there's they said it in an earlier book. I'm pretty sure there's only one public phone, and it's not near, anyone's houses. So yeah, I think that's a no-go. So naive, Keiichi Maibara, right? I took a deep breath and went in. I tiptoed along silently and stealthily and made it into the teacher's lounge. That was the only place with a phone. As I held my breath in the teacher's lounge, I heard the Forest Service officer walking back over. Then the back door clattered shut and was locked. I glanced out the window at the schoolyard and watched as the man got on his bike like nothing had happened and rode out the school gate. Great, a totally normal village. Listen, I mean, think about it. This is a remote village in the middle of nowhere with one school. You know? To me it makes sense, because also Bluma grew up in a very, very tiny town. It makes sense. Totally normal. Listen, goddamn. You know what else is totally normal? Not having a Twitter. There, got you. Got him. Ooh. Okay. The school once again emptied, becoming deathly silent. I waited for a bit to make sure the silence was on the real deal, then reached for the telephone on the principal's desk. I fished Satoko's house phone out of my pocket. Yes, the number in the class directory for Satoko had been the one from their house now, where she lived with her uncle. I touched the dial with my fingers, and then thought for a moment about what to say exactly when he picked up. Oh, low blow, mistress, low blow. Thanks, Rusu. #1 hype man. Despite how many times I'd gone over it in my head last night, now that I had my finger on the dial like this, it started to seep out of my mind like a cracked bucket leaking water. Simple would be best. More importantly, to say it straight and not sound suspicious. I counted off 3 heartbeats and then spun the dial. The call sound. Would Satoko's uncle pick up? Now of all times, the hope that he wouldn't pick up, and the feeling of doom in the knowledge that I couldn't save Satoko if he didn't, whirled around like a vortex. Hello? It was the voice of a grumpy man, like he had just woken up. He picked up. Hello? Say your name, so I know you're Hojo, you asshole. It would be terrible if I got it wrong. I made up my mind. I had all the initiative on my side. Here we go. This is Shishibone, Okinomiya Police Station. Am I speaking with the Hojo residents? I was changing my voice, but he'd really think I sounded like an adult? Would he believe I was the police? Oh, yeah. This is Hojo. We currently have your daughter, Satoko Hojo, here with us. What? Satoko? What did that brat do? He fell for it. I could tell by how tense he was that he didn't doubt my words. I can explain the particulars once you've arrived here. Would you mind coming to the station right away? Right now? I already took a bath myself, so I don't really want to go out like this, though. What? You don't want to go and come because you already took a bath? Yes, right away. Right away? Jeez, man, what the heck did Satoko do? I'll explain more once you're here. I'll be waiting. Thank you for your assistance. 1 second. I don't know where the police station is. Where am I going? You moron, what the hell? The Okinomiya police station? I don't know where it is either. Are you from around here? Why don't you know that? A greasy sweat came over my body. Eventually, just as I was about to choke, he spoke. Oh, yeah, and it's next to the fire station, right? That's pretty far. Thank goodness, he remembered it on his own. I didn't care where the police station was, as long as he left the house to get there. Then we'll be waiting here. Oh, wait. Who am I asking for when I get there? What's your name? On top of that, he wanted to know my name? Just leave your goddamn house already. My bashi. Excuse me. It was close. I almost thoughtlessly told him my real name. I managed to change the last syllable of it, but I put the receiver down like I was running away. My fingers were trembling, and I was soaked with a tepid sweat. I wasn't just nervous about the call. With that call, everything had finally been put into motion. Why does every sound effect keep catching me off guard? Because this is Higurashi. They're like, we live for this shit. Luma hits him with an uppercut. He's feeling the pain. He might not recover from that low blow. Oh my god. I left the school. It was locked before, but it was easy enough to open from the inside. But I couldn't lock it again after I left. In terms of being thorough, I wanted to lock it, but I couldn't waste time going back to the teacher's lounge and looking for the key. I needed to rush back as fast as I could and ambush him. I zoomed back to the scene of my bike. If Satoko's uncle got out of town before I got there, everything would be over. He'd learned that there was no one at the station named Maibashi, and things would get pretty messed up. As I returned at full speed, I passed a family wearing yikatas. They must have been on their way to the festival. Many people in Hinamizawa knew my face, though I didn't know theirs. Even just passing by them like this made me uneasy. But I didn't generally come around here, so those living in the area might not have known much about me. That didn't matter right now. I needed to get back as fast as possible, to control my breathing and ambush the man. I hid my bike in the thicket and picked up Satoshi's bat, which I had just left hidden in the shade. And then I held my breath, waiting to see someone. I wondered if he had still gotten there. Or maybe he went right out after the phone call and he passed by here already? I couldn't figure out which it was, and was set upon by an undescribable impatience. Calm down, Keiichi Maibara. Even if he came here already, he'd pass by here on the way back, right? The end result would be the same. It wouldn't change the fact that he'd die. He'd probably be coming on his motorcycle. How would I stop him then? I figured it would be best not to think too hard and just hit him as he passed, or beat him out of the seat. He said the thing again. He really did, yeah. The path was made of pebbles. If I hit him as hard as I could and made him lose his balance, he wouldn't be able to help falling. And then, the chorus of the Higurashi stopped. The sound of a bike approached from far away. I couldn't tell what sort of motorcycle it was from the sound, but I'd seen it parked before, so I'd know. It was getting rapidly closer. It was almost here. If he just went a little further, he'd cross into the thicket and appear right in front of me. I'd take a moment to make sure it was him. Then, when I had, I'd put my plan into action. The motorcycle appeared. A few easily identifiable characteristics told me it was Satoko's uncle's bike, without a doubt. Was it really him? Was it really Satoko's uncle? I wasn't making a mistake, was I? I looked at the characteristics again. Its color, shape, and most of all, the man's clothes. And face. Those last feelings of hesitation. I did away with them. Satoko, now. Your Nini will end it, okay? Closer. Closer. The bike came closer. Let's go. Satoshi. Yeah. Whoosh. I jumped out of the thicket. I used my shoulder to basically tackle the uncle on the bike, with all my might. Ah! He gave a dumb shout as his bike completely lost its balance. Finally it fell. The bike scattering clouds of sand after spinning it stopped. Her uncle, tossed to the ground, didn't understand what had just happened and groaned for a few moments, crouching on the ground. My breathing started to become ragged. No, I couldn't have this emotion. Some weird secretion crossed through my brain and nearly made me hallucinate. Her uncle was groaning. Now was the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. What was I doing? All the sounds in the world cut off. My mental chaos from a moment ago withdrew like a lie, and I could feel the temperature in my head rapidly cooling down. The tension in my muscles all went away, like the strings that had been attached had been cut, and I let my hands dangle at my sides. It wasn't quite like exhaustion. Have you calmed down now, Keiichi Maibara? Do you need to remember again why things got to this point today? Scrape. Scrape. I stepped over to the pebbled path, taking one step, and another step towards Satoko's uncle. The more I walked, the more the breathing calmed. The more I walked, the more I felt my body cooling, calming, chilling with a frost. Yes, at this moment, the sky had lost permission to live. I had just rescinded it. So he mustn't stay in this world any longer. If he lived any longer, if Satoko's misfortune continued, it would be my responsibility for having allowed him to live. I could feel the cooling substance going through my whole body, even down to my capillaries. Her uncle was at my feet now, still on the ground like an idiot. I smiled coldly at how ridiculous he looked. That hurt. That's all it took for it to hurt. Satoko's heart hurt much more. And now, you're gonna feel that. And, with your life, I'll make up for her pain. I erased all unnecessary information from my mind. I prioritized the murder of this man. Execute. 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 Utterly calm, I delivered my first strike to the back of his head. I wanted to get the most effective spot. At least during the first moment, I'd have to attack him while he was in the most defenseless. Ugh! And if he was hit in the head, he'd cover his head. It was the defensive reaction all humans made, like machines. He used both hands to cover his head, so he couldn't pick himself up off the heap as he was on the ground. Like pounding a caterpillar into the dirt, I hit him over and over. If he covered his head, I'd hit him on the side. If he covered his body, I'd go for the head. If he rolled over, I'd strike his feet, his knees, his elbows. I didn't care where anymore. By just delivering one blow after another, I induced panic in him. I retained my overwhelming advantage, and I hadn't done nearly enough to deliver a fatal wound. Her uncle skillfully pulled himself up off the ground and started to run like a fleeing rabbit. It wasn't a judgment he'd made after seeing my face and deciding whether to fight me. Right now, he was fleeing by instinct, just trying to escape from the threat that presented itself. A counterattack from the more physically capable uncle was what I was most concerned about. He may have run, but it wasn't all that unlucky, and the odds were in my favor. The uncle didn't run away towards the people, but back off the path into the woods. How pleasant that he would run in the direction where nobody else was. He was fleeing to the strange geography like a rat that instinctively runs into tight spots over and over. Yes, he was no longer human. He was a rat. The blood vessels in my legs expanded, and my total oxygen supply increased. I lowered myself to gain the most explosive velocity I could. Without breathing, I became wind-like, a shadow, and dashed. I crossed thickets, crushed dead tree branches underfoot, and dove through the woods like a bullet. He ran so cowardly, his arms failing as he went. After catching up to him, I didn't need much as a blink of an eye to strike him again. My senses, mind, and body were all sharpened purely to kill this man. This was the first time I'd felt like this. Well, this was the first experience I've ever had killing someone. It felt natural continuing to do this for the first time. And that meant I had this much. A talent for killing. Or perhaps the act of killing was so simple that anyone could do it. I didn't struggle or grow tired after all the chasing and clumsily fleeing uncle. No matter how much he ran, it was like he was trying to get away from his own shadow. He couldn't get away from me. I could easily aim at his back, his shoulder, and his head, even from the unnatural stance. Each time I struck him, he wailed in pain and begged with pitiful forgiveness, but it didn't disturb my mind. I was neither excited nor plagued by hesitation like before. I felt sharp. I felt like a carnivore. Of course, so did the uncle, who was trying to run away because he didn't want to die. He didn't want to be eaten like a herbivore running with all its might, trying to get away. Despite all the attacks, despite all the hits, he kept fleeing without staggering. And despite the bad footing in the forest, he impressively never tripped over anything. But there was no need to admire that fact. It was simply proof that he was no more than an animal. If he was chased, he would run. If he was going to be killed, he would run. He bared his fangs at the weak, but he couldn't oppose the strong whatsoever. He was lowly, vulgar, diminutive animal. Such a puny little creature who had harmed Satoko. Scar after scar to her body and mind, deep wounds that might not ever go away as long as she lived. My cold and calm emotions suddenly turned into bestial ones. My personality changed into something specialized for murder, purely to devour the diminutive animal before me. The uncle gave a puny little shriek, covered his head, and ran. I'm impressed at how much you can run. Fine, run as much as you like. I will be your death. I will choose the moment at my leisure. Your legs will hurt, your lungs will feel about to burst, your head will hurt from lack of oxygen. If you feel the pain has become worse than death, then by all means, stop any time. Without turning back, suffocating on the terror of the approaching death, he just ran shamefully onward. He ran, but was chased, his head bashed with the metal bat, sweat and drool flying everywhere, blood clinging to him. From this mouth came the sounds of coarse, irregular breathing and a high-pitched scream that was verging on crying. And pleas for forgiveness to someone, I didn't know who. Each and every second was a second of atonement that I granted him. Now run. Run. Then fall, moan, and die. Where'd you even crawl out of anyway? You were never here before. If you were never here, you never should have showed up. If you never showed up, our lives would still be fun and enjoyable. We would have gone to today's festival, waited for each other, gone to the shrine laughing. we would have been playing amongst the stalls right now. We'd be browsing the strange food stalls and only saw at festivals, trying to get prizes from the goldfish scooping, ring throwing, and target practice. Mion would surely make it to the competition, and we as a club would have such a grand time. And everyone would have been cheering for Rika-chan's dedication dance, and everyone would have shown how fun it was. It would have given us energy for the days to come. Fun, enjoyable, and funny. Warm times spent with friends. And that would have happened, but it didn't, and now it's all in smashing to pieces. There was no doubt that it would be what the world was like if you never showed up. You were an obstacle, a mistake, the heresy in the world, but I would correct that mistake now. I would erase you from it and make this last week never happen. Tonight was the Watanagashi Festival. The holy night, where taking just one life was permitted in the name of a Yashiro-sama's curse. It looked like Higurashi stopped crying at some point. When the Higurashi cried, everything would end. And the Higurashi silenced. Lowly one, the hour of atonement is at end. The Higurashi have stopped their crying, thus it is at the end. The end, the end, the end, end. You don't have to run anymore. Die, with those dirty brains of yours smashed everywhere. Sorry, I didn't read the message. I wasn't reading the messages. When it's something really intense like that, I just want to like get it all in one chunk for you guys, right? But I see Mango popped in. Hello. Well, Kate, she's going to jail. We don't know that. He could be fine. Imagine the game is suddenly turning into turn-based fighting, right? You want popcorn? Hell yeah. Man became Sonic, right? Keiichi the adrenaline junkie. Mango got here late, but it's just in time for what I wanted. Hell yeah, brother. Let's see. Bluma went to Joker mode. A little bit. I do like reading these really intense psychotic parts. They're my favorites. Oh, that's Spanish. I was like, what the fuck? You good? Makes sense to get it all at once. Okay, I should go popcorn right? Yeah, right. Hell yeah. Let me get a sip. Ooh, okay. Lightning and thunder struck like an explosion. It was so loud it shook the ground and it smelled like gunpowder. The response I got this time was clearly different from the one before. The metal bat crunched into the crown of his head. It was like the top of his head had caved in. The bat felt like it was biting him. It had been the final, killing attack that visited him. When I didn't overlook the opening he left as his knees gave out under him. It'd be really funny if Keiichi was hitting somebody. Don't say that. Let me take a sip. Yeah. Never realized Higurashi's Japanese for cicada, right? I learned that when I first watched the anime, because like in the sub version I watched, it just said like when the Higurashi cry. I learned later that it meant the cicadas, because like that's a fucking cicada, and I was like, oh. Say the crying of cicada. I remained alert for a few moments, then thud, thud. I planted both knees in the ground, and then fell forwards, burying my head in the ground. I've been holding back my ragged breathing, but now it all came out like a dam bursting. My head was dizzy and light, and unable to maintain my balance, I leaned against a nearby tree. The uncle didn't try and guard his head any longer. After a disgusting sort of spasm, he stopped moving. Did I get him? Did I get him for sure? I fought back my exhausted urge to fall over where I stood and drew towards him carefully, bat still at the ready. It was possible he was faking it and trying to wait it out. Should I check for a pulse? I realized right away, though, how unnecessary that would be. If I thought he might be faking it, then I would just have to keep pummeling him until I was satisfied. I fought back my ragged breathing again, and then I swung my bat far above and brought it down. His body leaped like a bow, but he didn't try and cover his head. Then once again I aimed for his head and swung. His reaction was the same this time. Got him, man. After spending a few moments making his head into mochi, the hits gradually started to feel different, like starting to spray a filthy dark red liquid everywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, we got him. That was enough. It was definite now. I had absolutely killed him. There was no sense of accomplishment, nor one of regret. I didn't feel anger towards Satoko's uncle, nor pity towards Satoko herself. Instead, right now, I was feeling like my heart had been stolen in the downpour. It had begun to rain at some point, and how comfortable it felt. The rainwater drenched my body and dripped down to the ground. The excitement within me faded as the rain washed away the grime. In exchange, my shoes were so wet it made splashing sounds. And despite abusing Satoshi's bat like that, it wasn't bent very much. There were a few dents in it, probably from hitting the man, but nothing that would make it seem different than from before. Instead, it had been stained with a black, with red, with mud and blood. But that itself would be evidence. The one piece of evidence needed to prove my delusions hadn't just been daydreams, and that I ended Satoko's uncle for all eternity. The uncle would just be like, we'll call it a draw, right? Alright, Keiichi. Calm your mind. The time for passion is over. Now is the time to be cold as ice. I needed to bury the body, but where was I? I'd simply followed the man as far as he ran into the darkness. I couldn't take a guess at how far we'd run. It was already pitch black around us, and the only light I had to go on was the very faint lights of the road a little further down. It was so dark out. I hadn't noticed the darkness until just now. My vision was so good I could only see the man's ugly hairline. I could have counted the pores on his head. It was only now that I realized how much crazy strength I had mustered at that moment. I went over to the streetlight. I looked up and down the road, desperately trying to figure out where I was. This is... oh no. This was the one road connecting Hinamizawa to town. We were unbelievably far away from Satoko's house. Had the two of us really run such a far distance? My surprise at that was accompanied by the knowledge of the miraculous fact that despite running so far and making so much noise, we hadn't come across anybody at all. There was a long way between here and the ambush location where I dug the hole. There was no way I could carry the body that far. Wait, aside from that, the bike the man took was still lying in the middle of the path. That would be an issue. The police would tell whose motorcycle it was by looking at the license plate, and they wouldn't just leave it at that. Thankfully, the corpse was in the dark forest. In terms of urgency, dealing with the bike would come first, and I wanted to get the shovel back from where I'd left it next to the hole. I shouldn't drag the body here. I would have to deal with it right here. Fortunately, the ground was like mud from the downpour, and the more sludgy here than it was before. I might be able to dig a grave quickly here. Of course, my bicycle is still over there where I'd left it too. It still wasn't over. Homicide had only been half of my goal. The other half would be just as important as the first. I would completely hide the body, not allowing the beginning to happen. I would erase the man like he'd never existed, and regain the peaceful times we had before. I bent my head backwards, and calmed my mind even further. The big water droplets struck my brow mercilessly. They were actually quite comfortable, and for a while I let my desire have its way. After confirming that I was sharp again, I started running through the rain. The motorcycle was in the grass at the roadside. Considering how it looked, pelted with rain and covered in mud, it actually seemed like it had been lying there for a really long time. The plan was to drop the motorcycle in the swamp. The swamp was a bit of a walk from here. Ugh. I lifted the bike up. I didn't think it would be so heavy. I was a little surprised. But once I had it upright, it was fairly easy to roll it along. Still, pushing this thing all the way to the swamp was really not something I wanted to do. I could no longer ignore my exhaustion, and it warned me numerous times about how far away the swamp was. This motorcycle. I wonder if I could ride it as well enough. Once I got it going, it would be basically the same as a bike. Wouldn't it get me to the swamp quickly? A plan suggested by my exhaustion. The anxiety at getting a motorcycle for the first time withdrew. I turned the key, and then just kicked this pedal, right? Yeah! Yeah! Vroom! It's on. And then, I gripped the handlebars, first the right, then the left. Whoa! Maybe I twisted them too much. The bike lurched as it did a wheelie in the angry horse. I lost it for a second. It was just a problem of how much torque it had to apply. Let's try that again. This time, slowly, gently. The time it went well. It was strange just to be on a two-wheeled vehicle that would go quickly, even if you didn't pedal. Very odd, but I got used to it quickly. Bjorn once told me that you could get a scooter license within a day, and she was clearly right. This was pretty easy. I needed to throw the metal bat into the swamp too, but I didn't know how I would pack the bat into the motorcycle. Without much of a choice, I stuffed it in the back of my shirt, feeling like a ninja carrying a katana. If I put the tip down and the seat off my pants hunched over, it wouldn't fall out. I got back on the bike, and this time got going without any difficulty. I carefully pressed the button labeled light, and a rather strong light came on, illuminating the way forward. Yep, that's Keiichi, alright. Yeah. I probably shouldn't have turned it on, but I didn't have any way of seeing it at this point, and had zero confidence I could ride through the darkness. As the rain came down on me, I maintained a precarious balance and inched my way towards the swamp. Along the way, I ran across a few people who seemed to be returning from the festival, but none of them had any interest in me. They were either all soaked through with the rain, hurrying on their way home, or had their umbrellas low and their heads down. Yesterday I might have been wary of these passers-by, but right now I didn't seem to be much cause for concern. In fact, it would probably be less suspicious to be riding out in the open like this instead of sneaking around. More and more, though, I started to think that the idea was naive, brought on by the exhaustion state. I climbed the steep hill. On a bike, the hill would put me out of breath, but just as I accelerated a little bit to climb the entire thing. Motorcycles sure are convenient. For a moment, its lights illuminated a sign before I passed it by. Onikakushi Swamp. Good children do not play around here. Still, it wasn't like a way to the swamp was condoned off by a metal fence or anything. Parents and teachers would get mad at you if they found out you were playing at the swamp, but some of the bad kids in my class apparently snuck out here sometimes to see the giant crayfish in the place. They talked about it. How they'd go to the candy shop and buy some pickled squid, and just tie it to a fishing line and throw it in, and all the crayfish would come a-running. Once I got up the bank, there was a tiny ritual shrine and traditional ropes on one of the trees. And, as it swallowed the downpour whole, the blackened swamp waited for me. If I slammed on the accelerator from the cliff-like stop it was now, the thing would fly straight into the middle of the swamp. I had to be careful not to fall in with it. If I drowned and disappeared, man, what a stupid ghost story that would be. On the night of Watsunagashi, Sutoko's uncle's corpse was found in the thicket in the road leading to town, and Keiichi Maibara went missing. People would whisper that I had been demoned away. The 5th year's curse would be a half-baked one. I got off the bike and twisted the accelerator as hard as I could. I let go just when it seemed like it would drag me forward. The bike shot off the cliff and was swallowed down to the swamp, leaving a far fainter splash than I had imagined. Its surface was being pummeled by the downpour, and the muddy, filthy water was flowing into it. I couldn't even make out the motorbike I'd just thrown in there. It was pretty heavy after all. It would be quickly engulfed by the soft mud at the bottom of the swamp, and would be pulled deeper and deeper until it reached hell itself. I felt no recollection reluctance. I felt no reluctance whatsoever in throwing the man's motorcycle down the land of the demons, but I did have a tinge of regret when I did it with Satoshi's bat. The muddy water washed off the gore sticking to it, and it sunk easily. I had sort of shared today's events with Satoshi, so I wanted to give it a quiet place to stay. That's how I felt. I started to feel more like returning to the locker from before, so I could continue to watch over Satoko. Satoshi, I probably, misunderstood you. Satoshi listened quietly, without nodding. I am absolutely convinced now. You were the one who beat up your aunt to death last year and saved Satoko. I always scorned you and called you a coward for running away, but I was wrong. To the rest of the world, some deviant was behind that incident, but I know that was something you did for her. And then you disappeared. You finally got back that peace, and then lost it within days. So, I swear to you that I will live life to the fullest from now on. Live it enough for the both of us. I will live on through this week. This day never happened. But I will never forget this short time we shared together for as long as I live. I didn't know what expression Satoshi made as he listened, but as someone who had protected the same girl, I felt he had smiled and given me his blessing. And then, my hand moved on its own accord, and the bat I hesitated to throw away left my hands and flew through the air. It traveled its parabolic path, spinning all the while, and the swamp absorbed it without a sound. There weren't even any ripples when it hit the surface. The surface was tempered because of the downpour, and the bat was long gone. For a moment, I regretted having thrown it in. But I realized that might have been what Satoshi had wanted. You're right. I still can't let myself get into the emotions just yet. I'll return for my shovel and get on the bike. Dig a hole to hide the body and then bury it. It seemed like a simple sequence of events, but I felt extremely exhausted, and I had to do it all tonight. Satoshi left me with only the advice he had needed to finish up soon. Then I fell silent for eternity. It disappeared at the bottom of the demon's abyss. I returned to the path that I had ambushed your uncle on. My bike was hidden, sleeping in the brush. I stood it back up. My whole body felt heavy, but I needed to finish this by the end of the day, even if I had to whip myself to do it. Oh, I forgot something. I didn't just come here for my bike. The shovel was here too. Not good. I was zoning out. Every once in a while, if I let my guard down, my vision will almost go black. Pull yourself together, Keiichi Maibara. It's still not over. I went into the grove of the trees and looked for the hole in which I had hidden the shovel. Unfortunately, I had hidden it deep in the forest, not wanting it to be seen, and now everything was black in the night, and I couldn't see anything anymore. I reawakened my fading consciousness and realized just how big this annoyance really was. Wait, you can't be serious. The sweat the rain washed away before came back up to my skin. Deep in the forest, where the streetlights couldn't reach. The fact that it would be pitch black had been completely uncalculated. With this much darkness, even if I had been able to kill him right away like I'd planned, I didn't know if I could still have buried him without a problem. What should I do? I simply couldn't find the shovel tonight. If I forced myself to go deep in the forest, I'd lose even my sense of direction and might actually get lost in here. That might have been an exaggeration, but it was fully possible I'd trip over a tree root and sprain a muscle. Oh, right. My house's storage room. There was another shovel there, the same fold-up kind. Couldn't I go back to the house, get a shovel, and give up on finding the shovel tonight? It's not as though the name Maibara is written on the shovel, but it seemed like an unusual item for an important variety store, made in another country, so I didn't want to leave the shovel here. But in this darkness, I couldn't do anything. I should give up and go back to the storage room. And there was an electrical lantern there. If I used that for light, I could look for it. But it was so extremely dark. Could it light the way with just a lantern? Guinea pig saying low? Yeah, I think the boys were fighting a little bit. And we got the Goebbels chewing on some stuff. The fingerprints? Oh yeah, it's true. It doesn't say my bara. Yeah, but I think you smeared your fingerprints on it, you little kid. Think, Keiichi, think. Yeah. This game came out when I was born. Maybe if, I don't know, you play newer games, you might have more viewers. Yeah, probably. I know these, like, visual novel ones never bring in a whole bunch of people, but the people who do show up really like them, and I really like reading them, so, you know. It is what it is. Also, we play Elden Ring on Saturday, so, you know, we do that. We do play newer games, too. Shit in my head, I can't believe they're fighting again. I know, right? Your friend brought a guinea pig? Oh, hell yeah! Congrats! Join us. It's true. We read the visual novels because we like stories here. What else have we played recently? Well, we do a lot of art. What does oh hi mean? It just means hi. Yeah, we do. We were playing Monster Hunter Rise and Outer Wilds for a while. Yeah, it's like, hey. Join the cult for the lamb chops. It's true. Become a lamb chop today. What are we doing tomorrow? I forgot already. Oh yeah, we're playing Project Diva one other night too. Forgot what that was. Oh, we watched movie nights. Oh, and Zenless and Genshin. We've been playing those too a bit. Oh, it's normal chess tomorrow. Yes. Just a normal game of chess. Very normal. Yeah, indeed, friend. Very normal chess tomorrow. Normal. Doubtful. Normal chess game. Oh boy, I do love some normal chess. I feel the same, Mango. Normal chess sure is nice. I can't believe you doubt the mistress, right? When have I ever led you astray, lamb chop? Trust. Just a normal game of chess. Anyway. I couldn't discard the possibility of it drawing eyes. And I doubted if I could find the shovel with the lantern's feeble light. Besides, I'd left the body there for a pretty long time already. My sense of fear, dulled through excessive exhaustion, finally reared its ugly head. Anyway, for now the most important thing was to hide the body. Or Mistress Boom is like, I am the mistress. Always trust, yes. I have also played this normal chess game and can confirm it's definitely both the normal and the chess. A shovel being found wouldn't be a big deal, but a corpse? If they found that, I'd share the same fate as Satoshi. First I'd go back to the storage room at home. Then I'd get the lantern. Now that it's gotten this dark, I might still need the light to dig a hole for the body too. And I'd get another shovel. And then I'd deal with the body first thing. Once that was done, I'd come back here, find the shovel and bring it back. I had to. Had to do at least that much. But I was so tired. But complaining was getting me nowhere. If I started being complicit now, everything will be for naught. At some point, I had sat down. I gritted my teeth and endured, lifting my heavy hips. The night was young. Of all the nights I'd experienced, none had ever been this long. When would it all end? The night was young. Oh shit, I thought that was the end. Oh my god. We still going! The lights at home were dazzlingly bright. Suddenly they reminded me of how hungry I was. I checked the clock and saw it was almost 7. I thought for sure it was 2 or 3 in the morning already. I was surprised at how messed up my biological clock had gotten from just this one night. You thought it was the end too, right? This must be a longer one because of all the stuff that's happening. There was a warm light coming from the curtains in the living room. The worlds between here and what was beyond those curtains were so different. If only that man hadn't shown up, I would have been in that light. I'd still be excited from the festival, and I'd be talking to my parents about how much fun I had had with all my friends. Now that I'm thinking about it, don't we have like 4 more chapters after this? We sure do. It's like 4 or 5. Yeah, we got a little ways to go. And then, even though they made a hot meal for me, I would have eaten way too much from the stalls, barely eaten any of it, and gone back to my room. No doubt, I'd crawl into my futon and easily let myself fall asleep. But right now, I was completely different. There wasn't a single ember of warmth in those weak streetlights. Right now, I was unconnected to any time spent with my family, and there was neither warm food nor the time to allow myself to sleep. My body exposed to the cold rain, I knew that I had simply had to spur myself on to accomplish what I must. I realized how timid, how cowardly I was becoming. Bro, that's still like a third of the story left. What else happens? I guess we'll see. For what reason did I need to kill someone, even if it felt this terrible? I'd lost sight of my purpose. I selected the fastest, most fundamental way of saving Satoko and executed it without hesitation. That man was dead. He was gone. He would never, ever hurt Satoko again. We all thought frantically for days on end about Satoko's problem, and finally, with no options, we gave up. And I had solved it in one night. By myself without anyone's help. Right about now, Satoko would be making dinner for her uncle, despite not knowing he'd return. And she might be spending the night trembling in fear whether he'd yell at her for how it tasted. But her uncle wouldn't come home. She wouldn't have to fear his wrath nor let him make her feel sad. I see. I did it. I successfully saved Satoko. All I'd been thinking about for a long time was killing that man, and I'd forgotten the feeling that would actually come with saving her. I did. I did something good. That's right. I did. Something good, didn't I? I felt hot tears coming from my eyes, and that's when I realized that the exhaustion I'd been feeling was actually guilt. The blade of guilt, for a while now, had just been scraping away with its tip, hurting my heart. It hurt so bad, I couldn't stand it. It was throbbing painfully. It hurt so much, it was so painful that I cried. I cried tears of joy for saving Satoko. I didn't know why, really, anymore. I just cried. And before his actions are actually going to make her life worse. Bet that's the uncle's friend. I know, right? My tears fell and fell. As I stood there for a while, coming to terms with those warm tears, my heart was comforted a little. All right, Keiichi Maibara, that's enough. There's nothing to regret or feel ashamed about. Both my body and mind were thoroughly exhausted, and that was a fact. It was only natural I couldn't feel anything. Even tomorrow, and the day after that, I might not be able to feel anything for a while. But there was one thing that was true. There was an undisputable fact that I had saved Satoko. One day, we would surely be rewarded. One day, I would be proud of how distressing an enterprise had undertaken to get Satoko's smile back. And so, that I could wait for that day, I had to put the finishing touches on this night. If left it undone, everything I accomplished today would be for naught. I looked back up at the sky, which didn't look like it would stop raining anytime soon. Then, I rubbed my eyes and summoned forth energy to run my core again. How long did I plan on spacing out? This isn't the time for daydreaming. Someone could find that corpse at any moment. That pessimistic thought was proof the very natural emotion of fear had returned to me. As I followed the fear to spur me onwards, I went to look for other shovels and lanterns inside the storage room. It was fortunate. I remembered what it looked like around the streetlight and the body was near. But how dark it was quite possible I wouldn't be able to look for it either. I didn't realize that when I left the place, so the idea of memorizing the spot hadn't even crossed my mind. And that's why I had to call it fortunate that I managed to get back to the body like this. The corpse was now located in a big muddy puddle. Half the thing had already sunk into the swamp like a pool of water. I only realized afterward that there was an unused irrigation channel right nearby clogged with fallen leaves and dirt. And there was the rainwater flowing from there. My shoes had been awash with the water for a long time now, so without any hesitation, I stepped into the puddle. The whole muddy stream started flowing back, luckily. I couldn't leave any slight traces like bloodstains. The rain was like a blessing from heaven. I checked around me, paying very close attention, and then turned off the lantern. It became pitch black, but my eyes got used to the darkness in a few moments. And once I managed to reach the streetlight on the other side, I was able to make out even the faint lights. I stuck the shovel into the puddle right next to the corpse. The ground was even looser than I thought. The shovel's tip easily slid inside. I had to hurry and dig. If I took too much time, I might lose the energy and strength again. It felt almost like digging a hole in the sand at the beach. It was easy to dig, but no matter what, the muddy water kept flowing in, covering the hole. The digging wasn't going as well as I'd hoped. I dug, and the water would go in, so I couldn't get a sense of how deep it was. The only way to measure it was for me to bury my own foot in the mud. I'm digging just fine. It's all right, don't be disheartened. Dig. 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 Occasionally a car would come on the road, and I'd hurry to hide myself in the trees. Everyone was only passing by, though. They wouldn't have their eyes peeled in this kind of darkness. I understood it logically, but I couldn't help but hide. What I was really scared of wasn't quite the one of those cars who would coincidentally happen to witness me here. It was like the distance I could spot cars from was getting gradually shorter. At first I noticed the splashing sounds from really far away as the cars would drive by through them. I started noticing them less and less, and with the car that had just passed by, I didn't notice until its headlights were upon me. I felt my senses growing duller by the second. If someone were to take a peek in secret, as I was burying the body at the worst possible time, maybe I wouldn't even notice. The moment I thought that, I took a good look at all around me, aroused all my half-asleep senses, and searched for signs of a presence nearby. What if I found out someone was spying on me through the trees? A carnivorous feeling snarling at me, glaring. If there was, then I would dig another hole. I'd come this far already. In order to achieve perfection, I didn't care how much more I needed to pay. I didn't know what kind of face I was making at that time, but it was definitely a fervently glaring one. My five senses reached the conclusion that nobody was present. I didn't breathe a sigh of relief. How long had I been digging the mud out here? Bro, okay, she's sounding badass, right? That was probably his coolest line to date. Well, if there's someone watching, guess I'll dig another hole. How long had I been digging this mud out here? It was deep enough for me to go up to my knees. Maybe that was enough. Maybe I'd throw the corpse in as a test. I swallow, getting my breathing under control. Despite how much I'd beaten him, I was afraid of touching the corpse, so instead I dragged it by the feet to the hole. It took more than just a wriggle and a tug to do it. But of course I did it. Considering the man's weight was easily 80 kilograms. I rallied all my strength and dragged him. At this point, my groundless fears that he might suddenly start moving again had vanished long ago. His body fit perfectly into the muddy hole. It was more than deep enough. Alright, let's bury him. 80 kilograms? Oh my god, it's big, right? Because like in the anime, they draw him really big, like chubby, I would say. Alright, let's bury him. Quickly, quickly, quickly. If I did a perfect job of burying it here, everything would be over. I would hide it in the hole, and none of this would have ever happened. When I realized I had only a little further to go and finished everything, I was racked with a pointless anxiety, like I was in a race against time. 176 pounds? Okay. Well, he definitely looks like he weighs more than that in the anime, but okay. It was like I was absorbed in a delusion, that if I didn't bury the body quickly, it might come back to life. Is that not a lot? I don't know, when I think of like a full-grown man, I don't think that's a lot, no. In any case, in a great rush, I poured mud and dirt in the hole. If I didn't work efficiently, someone might find me here. Until now, I figured if someone saw, I'd just kill them, but not anymore. Mostly depends on the height. Can barely lift 121. Yeah, but that's different. Being able to lift it up versus what a person weighs. And yeah, it does depend on height, muscle mass, like body water, like all that stuff. But no, I don't think 176 is like a lot. As I finished the work off, it was a total mess. Splish splash, squish squash. £200 can be overweight or underweight depending on if they're like 5 feet or 6'6". I drew the surface of the shovel across the ground, trying to make it flat. I was completely covered in mud at that point. The rain washed the mud off my body, but not off my now blackened clothing. My body and mind were caked in panic, fear, rain, sweat, and mud. But I could carry Mistress. We're almost the same height. Maybe. Sheep are really dense. But I don't know how much that buff adds the weight. Yeah. You know, probably adds a whole lot. You ever seen that video where it's like they had like fishbowl, well, not glass, but like plastic cups, and then because they were like experimenting, like these group of guys was like, I want to know what it's like to run with, you know, chesticles. So like they had like these plastic cups, fish bowls on the guy's chest, and then they like okay, well D cups would be like this and this, and they would add like whatever the equivalent weight was, and boom. Does Luma want to weigh a lot? I don't like talking about weight. It makes me anxious. Luma doesn't like her weight. Let's leave it at that, okay? And the fluffy stuff, yeah. The fluff, too. Nah, I'm good. She's just like me, for real, for real. Man. My shoulders heaving, I threw down the shovel and sat down in the mud. I was so exhausted that I wanted to lie down right here and sleep. It was over. This time. For real. It was over. The man was now at the bottom of the wet dirt. Right at this moment, there were traces that this place had been dug up, but the rain was flowing and the muddy water would completely cover it up within moments. Yes. It was over. I did it. I did it. I did it. You motherfucker. And then I fell over backwards, face up in the mud. Raindrops pelted my face without mercy, but I didn't care. After staying there for a while, resting my mind, I got up again. It was over. So let's go home. You already buried the whole thing. So now it's like it's never happened. So there's no reason for me to stay out here and get rained on. Female sheep's ever... I'm gonna find you. I'm gonna... Within moments. We're optimistic, aren't we? Yeah. I wobbled to my feet. I wouldn't use the shovel anymore. I considered disassembling it, but I didn't have the strength in my absolute exhaustion. I didn't really need to take it apart anyway. Dragging the shovel behind me, I headed towards the light. I stood up on my bike. It had been laying in the grass by the road. I didn't know how I was going to get the still assembled shovel into the front basket. I put the shovel down on the back of my shirt like I'd done with the baseball bat. Unlike the bat, the corner of it was on my back, making it really painful. Plus, if I relaxed my posture even little, it would fall out behind me. I ended up having to carry the shovel in my left hand and ride my bike using only my right hand. Not only was I in a state of total exhaustion, there was a downpour. One hand on the handlebars. I was swaying to and fro like a drunk. But I didn't care. Even swaying like this, I got a little closer to home every time I pedaled. I saw two lights swaying slowly in front of me. A car was approaching. Oh no. I need to get out of the way. From afar in the shadows and darkness, a car approached. Its dazzling lights washed over me. The driver was a short honk and the horn to inform me it was in the middle of the road. I have to get out of the way. I kept telling myself that, but not only was I riding one-handed and exhausted, so I couldn't do anything. Wobble, wobble, wobble. I remember I used to weigh around 154 and lost 40 pounds. So weight 100 pounds because of depression. Aw, Risu. That's not good either, though. I meandered about, not going to the right or to the left. The driver decided to swerve out of the right in front of me, and without lowering its speed much, and steadily came towards me. Its outline grew larger in my vision, and telling myself again I really needed to get out of the way, I jerked the handlebars in one direction and lost my balance and fell over, bike and all. My whole body splayed out, and one foot got caught in the bike. This was seriously bad. My drowsiness quickly vanished, and just as the cold sweat broke out on my skin, the driver recklessly spun the wheel to the left, made a counterclockwise U-turn and came right back up to me and stopped. The driver's seat door opened and the driver came out. You idiot. What are you doing here? I was pretty sure someone would yell at me like that. Oh my. Look who it is. It was a woman's voice, and one I knew. I lifted my face off the ground and looked at her. Takano-san. Good evening. The moon is very bright tonight, my Bara-kun. It was raining far too hard to see the moon. Takano-san unfolded an umbrella and smiled as she spoke. That smile was for some reason uncanny, like she'd seen right through me. Out of all the people I could have met, I got the sudden feeling that this was the one I wanted to see the least. What are you doing out so late? Are you soaked and covered in mud? No umbrella either. What is that? A shovel? She had come to here via car. She wouldn't have known that I was just doing. And yet she smiled as though she knew everything. Calm down, Keiichi Maibara. She always makes that mysterious-looking smile, remember? Don't let her go on anything, lest you dig your own grave. The rumors say you were playing baseball with a golf club. Is that what the shovel's for, too? Or are you just using it as an umbrella? I should tell her a good lie here. If I could just do that, things would work out. When I went with Reina to go digging for treasure by the dam, we forgot it there. And you went to get it in this downpour? When I left the house, I didn't think it would rain, so... Oh, it's been raining for a while, though. You've been out for quite some time, haven't you? Well, yeah. I was kind of wandering around. Even so. You came from that direction, didn't you? The dam is in the opposite direction, you know. Like she'd seen right through me. I'm looking forward to hearing that a lot in his prayer on it hits it, right? I'm awake. Yeah, right? Takano-san was clearly aware that something exceedingly abnormal was happening with me. And as she played her little word game, she was enjoying driving me into the corner. Maybe she had a vague guess, just from the situation of what I'd been doing. My timing really sucked. To run into her of all people at all times. At the very end, I could only be frustrated at my terrible luck. I'd done so much, and the end was literally right around the corner. So why? Why at the very end? The very end did I run into her, of all people? What do you do, Keiichi Maibara? You're still holding something that could be a dangerous weapon. Will you silence Takana-san? Even if it would be simple to kill Takano-san, dealing with the car she'd come in afterward would be an issue. I couldn't drive a car. It was completely different from that motorbike, but even if the car was here, as long as there was no proof I killed her. Yes, in tonight's downpour, without any prior planning, all by coincidence, a hit and run. As long as I didn't drop any handkerchiefs with my initials on them, there would be never knowing I killed her. A black flame quietly smoldered and raged in the corner of my body. That's a scary look. Did I tease you too much? Takano-san started to laugh by herself, then thankfully stopped talking about it. But the dark clouds in my mind didn't go away. Leaving that aside, how long are you planning on crawling around on the ground with your bike like that? Do you mind moving out of the way? If I moved, she would leave. So I tried to get the bicycle up and out of the way, but then twisted my ankle in it and fell over. Ah, shit! Ow! There was a sharp pain in the ankle that I had twisted. This is nonsense. A sprained ankle? Now? Oh my, are you alright? Did you twist your ankle? Takano-san squats down and takes a look at my ankle. I keep rubbing. She compares it to my facial expressions, apparently trying to gauge how bad the wound was. Can you stand? I didn't expect to, but I couldn't even stand up. It was all I could do to shamelessly wiggle on the ground like a caterpillar. Keiichi, if you do something to her, I swear. Definitely in peak physical condition for another murder. Yeah, right? Takano-san looked at her watch, then at her car, and after thinking for a moment, opened the passenger seat door, and then gave me her shoulder to stand with. I'll take you home. I do feel bad since it's almost like I hit you. I'm sorry. I wouldn't just leave you here. It's a good thing I'm a nice person. Nobody good has ever called themselves a nice person. But that would have been a terrible thing to say to someone holding me up like this. I took Takano's hands and sat down in the passenger seat. Takano-san went around the back and looked at my bike on the ground. I don't suppose you could take the bike home tomorrow? I could clear herself from her face that she thought it would be a pain, since it would be heavy and it would get her car all dirty. But my bike has the name Maibara written on it. I couldn't leave it out here like this. Well, can we somehow put it in the car? I sorta need it. The trunk's already full. If I put it in the back seat, it'll get the seats all dirty with mud. Well, given how you're already in there, it's already dirty, I guess. I turned back to the back seat and see someone's folding bicycle was there already. It still looked big enough to fit my bike in there as well. My expression reflected my thoughts, and the exact thoughts seemed to get through to her. Alright. I'll put it in there for you. I'll be really nice, but just for tonight, okay? Takano-san continued her mean jokes, but she hoisted my bike and loaded it in the back seat for me. The mean jokes were one thing, but couldn't she do something about the eerie smile of hers? And, even more importantly than the bike, I didn't want to leave the shovel here. The shovel would be directly connected to the buried body and to me. Sorry to ask another favor. Could you get my shovel too? Takano-san gave me a clearly dubious expression. Your shovel? That's fine with me. Is it important? The more I talk, the worse it gets for me. That's how it felt, so I didn't force myself to answer her. Eventually, outlasted by my silence, Takano-san gave a short shrug and sighed. Alright, I understand. You need your shovel, right? You don't need to make that much of a mean face. Takano-san brought over the shovel that was lying in the middle of the road. I clutched it like I had never let go of it again. Takano-san watched me with a puzzled look. Okay, let's be off. Maibara-kun, you live at the Maibara Mansion, right? Why does everyone call my house the Maibara Mansion? 'Cause it's actually a mansion. It must be nice to be rich. As she spoke, Takano-san pulled the handbrake and stepped on the gas. After making a skillful U-turn using the shoulder of the road, she suddenly increased in speed. From the rearview mirror, the accursed place seemed to melt into the darkness. Right? Huh? I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear you. What was that? Takano-san suddenly tried to say something to me, but thoughtlessly I didn't catch it. Looking ahead, Takano-san said the same thing one more time. The body. How well was it buried? I thought my heart might break out of my chest, but I didn't let it show. But my lungs were squeezed tight, and I couldn't breathe. What are you talking about? When burying bodies in the mountains like these, you have to bury it fairly deep because the wild dogs will often smell the corpse and dig it out. Some human bone and wild dog brings back to its mouth leads to an incident being uncovered, and the police head out and stretch in the mountains. It actually happens pretty often, you know. Pow, pow, clang, clang. Huge, rusted bells start ringing in my head. Had I buried it so deep that I could say it was absolutely wouldn't be found? The answer was no. I was in such a rush to bury him and get it over with that I couldn't deny having the possibility of it buried too close to the surface. No, wait. That's not, wait, anyway. This woman, how does she know? She had just passed by here in her car by coincidence. And we ran into each other by coincidence. If she had been watching me the entire thing from the trees that once I left, she came back to her car? It didn't make any logical sense. So then why? Keiichi Maibara, that's it. You need to kill her. My entire body reawakened, and I could feel my pupils dilate. I couldn't possibly beat her to death while the shovel in such a small car. Then I'd use my hands and strangle her. But she was driving right now. If I strangled her, we might get into an accident. Then suddenly, Takano-san turned and looked at me. What? No witty retort? For a moment I was surprised. What was she talking about? It would seem we're not a very good match, Takano-san said, disappointed, returning her gaze ahead. I repeated the words she'd said a few times in my head, and finally realized she'd meant it as an off-colored joke. I didn't know whether it was really a joke, but it wouldn't be able to fool her, no matter how many lies I told. Right now, with her driving the car like this, I couldn't kill her. It would have to be an even harder time doing it when we got back to my house. That moment we met, that had been my best chance. I had missed it so easily it hurt. After that, Takano-san didn't say a single word. The car was completely buried in an almost suffocating silence. What kind of woman had I run into? With everything that happened today, I managed to pull it off, and at the very end of it all, I just had to go home and go back to sleep. What bad luck. As my sleepiness gradually overtook me, the anxiety I felt suddenly started to matter less and less. Is this alright, Keiichi Maibara? You probably should not leave this woman alive. Right now, I'm tired. She stepped on the brakes and jerked against my seatbelt. That woke me up. I thought I must have fallen asleep by accident. I looked out the window, and there was a big building with faint lights on. It was really dark out, and I knew immediately it was my house. I'll go get your folks for you. Would you mind the place for a few moments while I'm gone? Don't make fun of me, please. Besides, look, I'm fine now. I can walk by myself. Oh my. You were in such pain before that I had to get me to carry you. Did you just want a pretty lady to be nice to you? As Takano-san spoke, she left the car and opened up her umbrella. The sound of falling raindrops was fierce, as always. I carefully reached down and rubbed the ankle I'd twisted. There was still some pain and a little weirdness, but they weren't that bad anymore. Rather than being happy about how light the wound was, I first regretted the whole thing. If I hadn't twisted my ankle, I could have still taken the option of killing Takano-san right then and there. There probably wasn't much doubt that Takano-san had convinced I was involved in some sort of crime. If she knew about everything that happened to Tokoko, then she might have guessed or had killed somebody. click. Takano-san opened the passenger drawer for me. You sure you don't need my shoulders? I wouldn't mind doing it for you again. I ignored her and answered by getting out of the car myself. The rain was still pretty insane. I got my bicycle out of the back seat. I was a bit curious about the other bike belonged to, but it didn't matter right now. I let Takano-san hold the umbrella over me, and I pushed my bike up to the front door. Thank you very much. I'll be fine now. My ankle hurt so much earlier, and it still did, but it aggravated me that I hadn't been that bad. It was really seriously terrible luck. Alright, I'll be leaving then. Keep it a secret that we had a nice evening drive together by ourselves, alright? Especially from Jiro-san. Jiro-san? Oh, she meant Tomotaki-san. I suppose she calls him by his first name. His full name was just Jiro Tomotaki then. No! My type of woman— I am calm. Man, she also committed some sort of murder tonight, right? That'd be quirky. And then the other bike, the folding one in the back seat, that I didn't care about at first, suddenly came to mind. Hey, excuse me, you're from Hinamizawa, right? On the day before yesterday, as I walked near the dam half asleep, Tomotaki-san had talked to me. And the bicycle he'd been riding, it was... That bicycle in the back belongs to Tomotaki-san, doesn't it? Takano's eyes, I think they were sharpening for a moment. And why do you think that? I saw it when I first met him before. The frame stood out to me. But wouldn't that be odd? Do you think it's possible for this to be Jiro-san's bike? Odd? Huh? Takano-san, her hair elegantly fluttering, peers into my eyes. Well, there are no bed and breakfasts in Hinamizawa, are there? Jiro-san would need to be staying in town. Is that so? Well, I guess that's right, huh? You can't really walk from town to Hinamizawa, can you? And there are no buses either. You at the least need a bicycle. She didn't need to tell me that. That's why Jiro-san was riding a bike. For Jiro-san's bike to be stowed in my car, and him not there, that would be strange, wouldn't it? It'd mean Jiro-san was in Hinamizawa without a bike. I'd have to have left Jiro-san somewhere and put his bike in my car, wouldn't I? It just wouldn't make sense. As she spoke, Takano-san made eyes like a hawk. Unfortunately, I didn't really understand what was so odd. What about that is odd? Aren't you and Tomotaki-san friends? I don't really think it would be strange for someone to have some reason to have his bicycle in your car. Oh, but it would be. What I mean is, Jiro-san and his bicycle being in different places in Hinamizawa just wouldn't make sense. And for those reasons, it means this bicycle can't be his. Do you understand now? Takano-san's roundabout way of talking was hard to comprehend, but the eeriness I could feel, that vague dreadfulness, I didn't like it at all. But the most wild, instinctive part of me warned me not to cry. That's my bicycle. And Jiro-san picked it out for me, though, so I can't deny that it looks alike. Ah, I see now. I thought it looked similar. Okay, if quirky is the word I would use for manslaughter. It's the word I would use for manslaughter. Wow, the Bluma gets pretty quirky at night, you know? Ugh. You and I never saw each other tonight. And now she was talking about something completely different. What are you talking about? You and I never saw each other tonight. I stayed there, not knowing what to say, and Takano-san repeated her eerie, insistent phrase to me again. You and I never met this night. You and I never saw each other tonight. Something cold and unpleasant crawled up my spine. I knew, because I'd killed a person with my own hands before. Before I came to the conclusion that only I had one chance to beat this woman to death could keep her quiet, and I couldn't hesitate, so I could tell that she'd arrived at the very same conclusion. My instincts warned me again. I wish I'd never met this woman. The faint sense, like a rotten smell, drifting from this woman was no doubt the exact same sense that I was giving off right now. The very peculiar aspiration, the lack of uncertainty at taking a human's life for a purpose, one that only those who have arisen above everything had. Actually, maybe I should have called it a nausea. It meant, but I didn't know how to explain this very well, but Takano-san was the same as me. In other words, someone who should have been here. Someone I couldn't have let anybody know was here. Someone who nobody would have wanted to see. And now that we had, we could calmly pretend as though we'd never met. Yes, which meant that, just like I wanted to have nothing else to do with her, she didn't want anything to do with me either. And she too wanted to make shit that she'd never met. Both of us wished for the same thing. Our desires were the same, which meant Takano-san's suggestion was extremely practical, and that I couldn't outright refuse. If that's fine with you, then sure, whatever. You and I didn't meet tonight. You're right. That would be best for you too, wouldn't it? Why do you think that? Are you seriously asking me that? You can't figure that out on your own, boy? She cut me off with the condescending word, boy. Right in front of my house, in a place most unsuited to killing. And yet, there was a frozen thirst for blood coming from both of us. It would be killed right here, right now. Yeah. Then I should have definitely beaten her as we passed each other. A damp, greasy sweat broke over my body. That's fine. If you want me, you can come anytime. And when I made up my mind, she shook her hair elegantly and turned on her heel. Good. I am a kind person after all. What was good? How? Because she was the kind of person? What is that? I don't get it. Takano-san got in her car. We didn't exchange any words or parting. I had performed a massive feat, the killing of Satoko's uncle, and yet I didn't feel any accomplishment. On the holy night of Oyashiro-sama's curse, on which the taking of another's life was allowed, on the terribly rainy night when the demons wandered as agents of Oyashiro-sama's will. The demons were never supposed to meet, but suddenly they did. The demons parted ways triumphantly. There was no reason for them to fight. Both their objectives had already been accomplished. With the rain hitting me like a waterfall, my eyes met Takano-san's through the car window. The female demon, her mouth twisted into a distorted, fearless smile. It was too late to kill her. Far too late. That first moment, the very first moment we saw each other, had been my best chance. And now that we had parted like this, I was acutely aware of it. I should not have let her live. She beeped her horn quickly, then her car drove away in the deluge. The one woman who knew what really happened tonight disappeared into the dark. As long as she was alive, this night would never really end. Just get into an accident, I thought to myself. In this downpour, slip on some mud or something, and fly face first into a tree and die. That wasn't a delusion, a wild flight of fantasy. It was an earnest wish. Yes. It was a command. Die. Die. You keep your mouth shut for all eternity. Because I have no doubt you're wishing for me to die all the same. My curse upon her faded emptily as Takano-san's taillights disappeared in utter darkness. Her car's lights were completely out of sight now. Even the sound of the engine faded, and the sound of the heavy rain was all that was inaudible now. I, too, turned on my heel. To draw the curtains on this exciting night. To open the front door and end it all. I began walking towards the front door. I was covered in mud, and it made a squishing sound every step I took. Squish, squish. Don't worry, Keiichi Maibara. Squish, squish. She'll die. Squish, squish. Her end will be as miserable as she is. I'll throw her into some flames alive and let her dance until she's burned to a crisp. I'll burn her to ashes in the fires of hell itself until she's roasted up as much as she deserves. I wish. I really do. Squish. Huh? Just now. Hadn't taken a step, and yet a footstep. Without emotion, I turned around. If there was a footprint that wasn't my own, then it was obvious someone else was behind me. Was somebody else there? I was sick of this. Whoever it was, I was sick of everything tonight. This time, I'd kill them. I'd kill them without a second thought. I wouldn't hesitate to turn around and dig another hole. But, fortunately, there was nobody there. I wasn't going to have to kill any more people tonight. This night, couldn't handle any more of it. Even if I heard an extra footstep each time I stopped, I put it down to me just being tired. Really can't blame him for not thinking this through well because of the exhaustion, but still, holy cow, Keiichi, right? Keiichi about to throw hands. Gotta protect my wife. What a chapter. Oh my god, right? Let's save that. Save. Alright, woo! A bit of a longer one, too. I was worried at first of how fast we were going. That, like, I'd be like, oh, damn, this is going really quick. We can read another chapter. Nope. Alright. Chapter 10 done. Yay! Bachi, bachi, bachi. Bachi, bachi, bachi. Scared. Bachi, bachi, bachi. Bit of a longer one. Yeah, that was double the length of the last two, right? I was like, man, we're really vibing. Like, I was worried it was only gonna be an hour again, and I'd be like, ah, fuck it, we're reading the next one. But, like, no, this one was like, nah, I'm 2 hours, don't worry about it. Scaroused? Yeah, baby. So, how we feeling besides scaroused? Oh, my phone keeps going off. Oh my god. Called it. Bluma being a gremlin. And what are the odds? I'm feeling exhausted. Yeah, so is Keiichi. So yeah, how do we feel about the thought in our minds now that, there's still like 5 chapters? How are we feeling? What do we think about this? Bruh, 5? I think so. I think there's like 15 in this book. Looking forward to it? Hell yeah! Hell yeah! Oh, good shit, the lamb chops. Good shit. Gotta love the blunt gremlin Bluma. Oh, hell yeah. Happy for that. We going full spy versus spy with this. Can't think straight. Is this about to be a Death Note level of 2 people trying to catch each other and playing mind games? Boy, that would be something. What a turn. Well, I guess this isn't gonna be a sad one. Birthday passed over the weekend. Hey, happy birthday! Happy birthday, Jose! Yay! Yeah. Ooh, I hope you had a good time, celebrated, all that good stuff. There we go. So your 2.5 hours really taking you? Yeah. We are gonna wrap it up here for sure. Good chapter, y'all. Excited for our chapter next week. And tomorrow, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. We're playing a normal game of chess. I said chess. Playing a normal game of chess. It's gonna be great. Just normal chess. Alright? Alright. Chess. Damn it. Anyway, lamb chop. Alright. If I don't see you in the next stream, I will see you when I see you. Good night. good evening, and goodbye.